welcome back to Carpentry College again. Now, I'm going to be doing some dovetails. So, I'm going to do a through dovetail, a T dovetail, and a dovetail housing. Now, through dovetails, you're likely to find those when we're making a drawer, for example, especially at the back of the drawer, like so. This is a through dovetail, okay? So I've got a little bit of a drawer here, yeah? So through dovetails here. So this is one of the ones that we're going to be doing in this video. So a through dovetail, a lap dovetail is a type of framing dovetail. So like this example, I've got a lap dovetail here. So it has the dovetail, which is generally a 1 in 6. It can be 1 in 7, but a 1 in 6 in relation to the gradient. That angle is a 1 in 6 gradient. That allows us to, it's to do with basically the softwood. Hardwoods tend to be a 1 in 8, and softwoods tend to be a 1 in 6, or they can be a 1 in 7. This is in relation to the actual softness of the grain. So where the angle is cut, this is likely not to break out. The more steeper the angle, the more breakout you'll have at the end of the actual material. That's the idea of having these different ratios, whether you're using softwood or hardwood. So that's a frame. Another place you can, or I can show you, but this might be an addition. Another type of dovetail we'll have is what we call a lapped dovetail. But lapped dovetails tend to be, if you can imagine, this is my drawer front. This is the drawer front. These are the sides. The lapped dovetail is not right the way through like it is with this one. So it comes about. So how this is worked out is the thickness of the sides, which are then gauged, cutting gauge, we'll use to gauge down the side, and that's what enables that to be where it is there now. So it's the thickness of the material, which is generally 12 mil. This is likely to be 18, and so this is taken with a cutting gauge, yes, which is this is the cutting gauge. It has a little knife in it. So what will be done with something like this will be the thickness of that, and then that will be gauged along. If I take this one out so I can show you. So say I'm just doing it just as purpose for the video. If I say the thickness of the size of the jaw, and then that will be gauged along here. That's how that works, as well as going along here. So when that actually fitted through, it only stopped to there. Hence the name lapped dovetail. Right, I can say. Okay, so generally with dovetails, they tend to be when we're making drawers. So a drawer to a cabinet, yeah? So whether it's at the back of the cabinet, when I say the cabinet, of the drawer itself, the drawer fits into a unit, and at the back of those drawers tend to have dovetails. But you can have dovetails have like what they're called tensile strength. So if you look at that, anything that has a tensile strength is what you want to pull. This is where a dovetail joint will be utilized. So so like, for example, it could be a toolbox. Years ago, we made the corners using dovetail. So when you grab the handle of your toolbox, that tensile strength will be so strong you couldn't pull this apart. So generally, where you get anything that has a pulling capacity, you're going to want to incorporate a through dovetail. Okay, all the various other ones are just variations to dovetail joints in themselves. Okay, for this exercise, a dovetail joint, your piece of timber needs to be 450 long by 45, and I've used by 28. Okay, now I'm just going to turn this over. So I've got specific dimensions here. it doesn't have to be like this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to follow it loosely to this element here. So we've got 205 from one piece of 205, and another piece is going to be 177. Now I'm going to loosely make that, let's say, only be, in the sense of purposes, it's only a series of joints, as I said to you, through half flat dovetail and a dovetail housing. So I'm going to stick with this 205. I'm going to make this length of this, say, 180, just because 117, it's just a size really, so it could be 180, 150, but so I'm going to round that up to the nearest whole number, so I'm going to make that 180, keep that the same. So you want one piece at 205 and one piece at 180, and that's what I'm going to do now. Right, so what I'm going to measure, I'm measuring the length that I said was 205. So 205 is there. So just to recap, we've got 450 long, 45 millimeters wide, 28 mil thick PAR, which means plain all round. So first measurement is 205, sense of the going by the job, 205. I'm going to select a face side face edge, which is going to be there and there. I'm going to square that one like that. 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to cut this now. At this present moment, I'm going to cut that off there using my bench hook. I've got one piece at 205. I just want to write this down just to be clear in my head. 205, and I've just rounded it up to 180. You know, it just, that's all I've done. Now, and I've put a face side, face edge mark on 2 because I need to have that. So I'm going to start with the marking out the tails. So this is a dovetail. Yeah, so it's similar. This is going to be the similar, exactly the same job what I'm going to produce for you for this video. So this is the tail, and this is what we call the socket, right? So that tail goes into that socket like so. This is how this works. Okay, so it goes in like that. Okay. So the tails are the ones. This is the tail, and this is what we call the socket. The socket is what engages the actual dovetail. And then this is part of a dovetail halving, and this is the dovetail housing, which invariably is going to go here like so, not on this one, but on a new one that I'm going to produce. And then this one is going to sit into there, but on this one, I'm going to do 2 new ones. But this is just an example. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to mark out this, in this case, in this instance, a 1:6 ratio. Yeah, you can see that 1:6. So this means it's each unit is 10 mil. So I've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Each one of these units is 10. And then this is going out 10. So that makes that a 1:6. And then I'm going to put a bevel and then set my sliding bevel to that angle. But I'm going to do it on this piece of timber. So I'm going to mark a line.
Let's go.
Mark a line square, and I'm going to measure up 60 mil. Because as I said, each component or each division is 10 mil. So 10, so we've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60, which is there. And then I'm going to come out 10 on there, from this vertical line, And this is whereby I'm going to set my sliding bevel to. So I'm going to go like that. So this is my 1:6 ratio. So this is my setting out for my dovetail basically. What we need to do is get ourselves our cutting gauge, like this. This is a cutting gauge. And I'm going to set this just over the thickness of the material. So not tight, so like this. So it's not to the tip of the blade. Yeah, it's over it. So that means it's going to be oversized. You want it oversized because when you finish it, you're going to clean it up there afterwards, okay? So that's nicely set. What I'm going to do is gauge, use the gauge all the way around. If you look at old antique drawers, you always find a little knife mark where they gauge for their dovetails. This is very usual. Yeah, for the cutting gauge to be cutting across the grain. That's how you use a cutting gauge, going across the grain. So I'm squaring this line round using the cutting gauge. It's a knife line all the way around. So now I've already set up my so-called dovetail. On my instructions here, yes, I've got a detail here that says 10 mil in, 10 mil, so 10 mil in, so this is going to be 10 mil. This area represents this bit here. Yeah, on the bit that I've already cutting gauge through. So on that top edge line, when I say that top edge, meaning the edge of this timber, I'm going to measure in. I'm using a pen at the minute just to show you. So yeah, that I'm going to come in 10 mil and 10 mil here. Okay, and then using my bevel edge, my sliding bevel, I'm going to mark where my dovetail is going to be. Yeah, but I'm marking it on the inside. Try not mark it on the outside because it's it's very hard to steady the sliding bevel if you use the outside of the bevel. So you need to use the inside, so the most of the stock of the bevel is sitting directly on the piece of timber, as it were. Okay, so I've done that. So this from there to there is 10 mil, from there to there is 10 mil. So I'm replicating that there, what it shows, 10 mil, 10 mil. It could be anything you like. It could have been, I could have had 5 mil and 5 mil, but I've just followed the drawing for the purposes for you, so you can got something to work to. Yeah. So remember, we're producing a through dovetail. So I'm doing the dovetails first, and then from the dovetails I should mark the socket. Remember what the socket is, which is this bit. The socket is what's going to receive the dovetail. Okay? So now I'm squaring across on the end grain where my dovetail will be. Yeah, I need to square those. Why? Because I'm going to be cutting. This is going to be my cuts that I need to make. Yeah, prior to actually doing the thing. So I'm going to just mark so as I said, inside, the same on there. Okay, doing here now, I'm just highlighting what is the waist side. So this is going to be the waist, yeah, in red. So that one there. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that now with the dovetail. I'm going to come down it and do the rest of the marking out where our dovetail housing is going to be and our dovetail halving, which is at the very end here. Okay, so now with the dovetail halving, right, I'm going to use the width of the material, which is 45. I'm going to keep that as close to the edge as possible. Okay, and then I'm going to just, because it's going to be like this. So I'm just going to mark a little reference mark on here. This is going to be my shoulder. So a little mark there, using the square. Yeah, remember we've got a face side, face edge mark that you've already marked, and this is reference in relation to squaring a line, always the square being in contact with either the face side or the face edge when we're marking a line around. So I'm just putting on this on here. And this one's going to be back. Okay, so as I say, this is the width of that, because this is going to be a half lat, which is going to be basically the width of that, but on the opposite side on here. Yeah, basically on there. So again, the details for that is here. I've got 3mm and 3mm. 3mm is where I'm going to measure in 3mm, and then it's going to be my 1/6 slope that I'm using for the taking from my bevel edge. Sorry, from my sliding bevel, not my bevel edge, my sliding bevel. So 3mm. So I'm going to measure in 3. 1, 2, 3. That 3 there? No, not that 3. 1, 2, 3 there. And then let's do it on this end. 1, 2, 3 there. So again, using my sliding bevel, I'm gonna mark the inside, because remember, the inside is where the most, so the body of your sliding bevel's got something to sit on, and this is that. So that is this bit here. Yeah, so I've marked out this bit. So what I'm going to do now is square it across, yes, those lines, using my square. I can use the inside of the square also, like I'm going to do. Okay, and then I'll just turn this around. Make a little mark on there. Okay, so now I'm just going to show you the waist, just like I did here at the top there. So this is my waist side. This is my waist side. Now, the other thing I haven't done here, and I'm going to do it just now, is the halving. So I'm just going to set up a marking gauge and put a center line here, or half that. Not a centre line, half the thickness of that. So I'm going to put a gauge line all the way around here. That's the next thing I'm going to do.
That's right.
So, right, just so we're clear, just to recap, if I put my spike over halfway or under halfway of the thickness of the material, I'll make 2 incisions, come both sides. Yeah, I get 2 marks like that. Can you see them? 2 marks there. I don't know if you can see them there.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So now I have to just adjust my marking gauge so it's in the middle of those 2 lines, right? So this is what I'm doing now. So just just that little bit more. It looks like to me. It's about 1/2 mil in there. But I probably can get that. So let's do that there. Okay, right, so, okay, that's it, done. So I can hold this in the vise, just to gauge that line. Make sure you're nice and tightening up the gauge, marking gauge. So I'm just gonna go all the way around this, because it is a half flat dovetail. So another type of framing joint, but it's just basically a dovetail, yeah? So I'm going to throw that there like that. So right, so the top half, this is going to be the part that's going to be the waist. The bottom half is going to end up like that, isn't it? All the back of this is going to be, all the back of this is going to be waisted also as well. Like that. And the sides as well, yeah, this is going to come off. All of that's going to come off there, and the same there. All this is coming off there, and there. All that's coming off like that. Okay, so the only thing is left to do now is this dovetail housing. Yeah, and this is what I'm going to mark now. So it has a dimension here from my brief that I've got there. So the dimension saying 55. So in fact, if I did 55, so we've got 55 there. It's 55. So if in fact, I'm going to do 55 from that shoulder there. 55 to here. That's basically what that's saying. So this overall is going to sit here like that. Okay, so I'm going to just put a little mark on there, like that. So let me see. So that's going to be like that. I can mark these line all the way across. Now, so there is a detail here about this dovetail housing, and you can see it there. So this is saying 3 mil from this edge. 2, 3. We've got 1, 2, 3. That's a bit bigger there, isn't it? Oh, that's there. Yeah, that's there. So that has got to be in there, isn't it? So this is gonna, I don't know, right? That's like that. the other thing is how deep to go. So the rule of thumb is that it's a third. So a third of 28. Third of 28, 9.3. Now, another rule, another thing, you see how difficult that was? Not difficult, but another trick is if I turn this ruler so it is to a number divisible by 3. So in this case it's 30. I can easily mark a third of 30, which is basically there. There's a third there, isn't it? Yeah, so what I've done is tilt the ruler so, and think about a number divisible by 3, and in this case it's 30. As long as it's from there to there is 30, and it is, I know a third of that 30 is 10, isn't it? That's 2/3, and that's a third, isn't it? So 10, if I mark 10 on there, and then I can transfer, if I get another marking gauge, this one here. And then come in with that one, like that. So this is going from there. Like that. And then I'm able to just do this. So now I'm going to my little bevel. Oh no, that goes the other way, okay. I've got to go like this. Sorry, I made a little error there. Always the way. So let's just check that. So then I'm going to go like that. And then all I'm going to do is just mark that from there to there. That comes out like that. This is going to come out like that. And that's going to come out like that. So, what I've done here now, I've marked out the dovetail housing. Yes, this is still using my 1 in 6 set dovetail sliding bevel, so everything's marked out here now in readiness for processing. So what I've got to do now is prepare this side. Now I can't fully mark this side until I've cut this side, and then that goes marked onto there to do the socket. So I can just gauge for our where it's going to happen. So gauge using the cutting gauge like I did earlier. So that one there. So where I have that there, I'm going to just gauge. I'm not going to go all the way around. I'm just going to go across the end. So not even on the sides. It doesn't need to go to the sides. What it needs to do is go across the bottom. Now this is only as far as I can go because I need to cut that to mark on top of there. So that's done. So I've got a dimension here is 49. I'm going to round that up and make that 50. Yeah, for all sense and purposes. Right, so from there, 50 mil. And then just mark this line. Now, this is the dovetail housing, right? So this one is going to go here like this. Right, so what I need to do is just take the width of the material, which is there. Okay, and now again with this one, I'm just going to just mark it out. So I'm just marking the positions, because the same with this one again. I can't, no point me marking the dovetail on here, because I've got to produce this one and then lay this on top of there and then mark on top of that. And that's the way. So I'm doing the tails first. Sorry, the tails, which is that. So this is going to be marked onto there, but I've got to produce this first. So I'm just going to mark the position. I'm just going to mark the position where that goes. Yeah, just like that. That's all I'm going to do with this one. So that's covered. This bit is covered with that. And then the last bit is going to be the ends here. So I could mark that actually. I could mark it, and then when I'm cutting it, just allow a bit more and not cut up to the line, that's all. So again, I'm going to take into account the depth of that. So I've done it at, so what's the depth of that now? So it's probably in fact it's 9.5 as close as I'm going to get it, 9.5. So with my cutting gauge, yeah, I've finished utilising cutting. I'm going to use the cutting gauge here. I need that on there because I'm going to go across the grain here. So I'm going to cut this using this cutting gauge going across. So I'm just going to gauge this all the way around like that. Okay, that's what I'm going to do now. Make sure that I'm happy at the end. But I'm just going to tweak up the end of this piece of timber on the shooting board. Right, let's get a shooting. Now, I'm just going to really make sure that the actual end is a bit rocky, a bit bumpy. I want it as nice and flat as possible. So that's why I got my shooting board out. Okay, so I'm just going to tweak that up. Because you need this to be flat, because this is going to be the housing, the dovetail housing that's going to fit into there. So that's why this needs to be nice and flat. Okay, right, so let's put that away. All right, so I've trimmed up the end so it's nice and flat like I want it. That's going to sit into there, so that wants to be nice and flat because there's a dovetail housing, that one. So that wants to be as flat as possible. Okay, so now I'm going to gauge with the cutting gauge across the end. Yeah, so just here like this, like you see me do now. So that there. I'm going to turn this around here. Okay. There. And here. So you can see a knife line, cutting gauge line, that I'll use the cutting gauge here. So what I'm going to do next is just mark my dovetail on the end of this. So I can take it, actually I can take the reference from this actually. So if I lay this on here, so in fact this is 3mm, this should be 3mm. Why do I know that? Because it says it from there to there is 3mm, so that's why I know. So if I put that in the vise again, I can, using one of my gauge lines, put a gauge line here, 3mm. I'd rather gauge that, that'd be a better job gauging it there. So I'm going to use one of my newest gauges, which is here, and I'm going to set this for 3mm. This is a combination gauge, so it should be 3mm. There we go. Right, so just going to gauge the end of that. Not too heavily, just lightly. You're not going too heavy. You're not going to. But I just want a guideline. There's a guideline basically. But you're just not going to go heavy with the guideline. Okay, so mark that there. And then with my set bevel, which is at the 1 in 6, I'm just going to mark it. So you'll see that there, look. So you can see that end, that's going to fit into there. That's how I did that. So I've got a little mark on there, a mark on there. Okay, so that is all ready for processing when I come to do it next time. So this is the waste. Waste there. Okay, so here we are. So everything's all there ready for me to process next time. So far we've done the gauging for the socket when I actually produce our for our dovetail that I'm going to produce there. Then I've got to cut that, and then from that I'm going to place that on top of there. Yes, to then trace that. I'm not going to put any markings there. What I also need to suggest that you keep hold of the setting for that one, because once I've cut that and placed it on top of there, I'm going to need to gauge that, yes, so that, you know, it's going to then receive that. I'm not going to do it now because, as I said, you do the tails first before you do the receiving socket for that tail. Now that's why you need to keep one of these aside, yeah, the one that has the halving. So let's keep that in readiness. When that's done, you can process this as usual. Okay, so that'll be it for now. I shall resume next time.